On today's show, the Ottawa Senators will be without their starting goalie for an extended period of time.
Plus, we have a game day preview up against the Columbus Blue Jackets and a surprise healthy scratch.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller. Today is Monday, December 29th, and Pillsy will get into the wild travel woes of the Columbus Blue Jackets, but it does look like the game will go on tonight. But the big news happened yesterday. Linus Ullmark announced a indefinite leave of absence for personal reasons. The Ottawa Senators not giving much more information than that, but the Senators will be without Linus Ullmark for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's certainly unfortunate news, but I think the main thing we need to focus on here, Ross, is not speculating, not whirling up any sort of rumors of what's going on or things we don't know. All we can say is, look, we hope Linus gets well soon. We hope everything is good with him and his family and his personal life. And obviously, your number one goalie is important to your team, but there's things more important than hockey, and you got to make sure that you're taking care of those things first. And if a personal leave of absence is needed and necessary, it seems like he has the team's full support. Brady Tkachuk even said he's got our full support. So we hope the best for Linus Ullmark and his family, and that he can get back to that goalie that we know he can be.
Words echoed by General Manager and President of Hockey Operations Steve Staios. The direct quote in the release yesterday: Linus has the full support of our organization during this time. Out of respect to Linus, we will not be making any further comments. But I will echo your sentiments as well, that we hope that Linus gets well soon, that everything is okay for him and his family, and that he can get back on the ice in a great place when he is ready. But the Senators and the NHL schedule, it rolls quickly. And the Sens have called up Hunter Shepard to be the backup for Levi Merilainen, who we expect will be carrying the mail like he did last season when Linus Ullmark was injured in that game against the Edmonton Oilers right around Christmas. And Levi, he's done this before. He was incredible during that stretch, and he's going to need to be really good again. The good news for the Senators is that Levi Merilainen is exceptional at home for the Ottawa Senators throughout his career. He's compiled an 8-1-1 record at the Canadian Tire Center, Pillsy. During those games, he's put up a 2.29 goals against average, a save percentage of .912, and they are going to need him to be every bit as good during this stretch.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see a lot of Levi Merilainen now, and we saw it last season. And I think this is going to be interesting, Ross, because he's not really used to being that backup goalie. Even in Belleville, him and Mads were more fighting for that number one spot rather than him being a traditional backup. Obviously, Mads had injury issues in Belleville as well, so Levi had to carry the team down there at times. And I tweeted out, Ross, last season, December 29th to February 1st, Levi Merilainen went 7-2-1. He had a .938 save percentage and 3 shutouts. Now, is it fair to expect that again? Probably not. But let's all remember that when this team needed him most, he stepped up. And that was a year ago with less experience. He's now got more NHL games under his belt. He's a year older. So I'm really hoping that Levi can find some of that Finnish firewall magic and shut the door and help carry the Ottawa Senators again.
Senators starting a 4-game homestand tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So Levi is going to be put into the fire. He mopped up the game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, did record the loss, made 2 goals against, had 2 goals against on 18 shots in that game. He did win his last start at the CTC. 6-4 was the score against the Chicago Blackhawks. So it's in Levi's hands for now, and we will see how the Finnish firewall responds. It's going to be a big test for him. Will the 23-year-old be ready to rock and roll? He's going to have the full support of his team in front of him. They play well ahead of him, and I'm excited for this. I know it's obviously under circumstances that you wish weren't there, but can Levi Merilainen carry the mail for the Senators? We will find out starting tonight. A game that for a while looked like it was threatening to not happen. The Columbus Blue Jackets played last night at home, and then they had mechanical issues on their flight. They couldn't get out, so they tried again this morning. Still mechanical issues, and they are now scheduled to depart at 1:45 Eastern, which would get them to Ottawa just before 3 and get them to the rink just before 4 o'clock. That is a preseason type schedule. Heck, the Senators did something similar. They did get to Toronto in time for the morning skate, but this is the world we live in where there are delays. I know a lot of people out there listening, watching this, they've had their own fair share of travel delays, but when it's a chartered flight, you don't often see this. And there is some bad weather both in Columbus, along the Great Lakes, the route that's going to take them right to Ottawa. And there's bad weather in Ottawa too. A lot of freezing rain last night into today. But the confirmation is there from Aaron Portzline, who covers the Columbus Blue Jackets as well or better than anybody else, that this was a mechanical delay, not weather related. This is a must-win game for the Ottawa Senators, a most overused term. But when you are taking on a team that played last night, had travel trouble, and is without one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League in Zach Werenski, you have to take care of business on home ice. Now, the Blue Jackets have won 2 games in a row, both without Zach Werenski, so it's not like that's the be-all, end-all for their lineup. They've found ways to win. They beat the Islanders last night in a chippy, feisty game that included some wild, wild stuff where Mason Marchment took out Matthew Schaefer with an egregious trip, and he's kind of got a reputation of being a little bit of that pest too. A new acquisition for Columbus, trying to make an impact right away, and there was a 2-hand from Matthew Barzal right on his laces. That couldn't feel good this morning, so we'll see what kind of shape the Blue Jackets are in tonight. When we look at these two teams head-to-head, Pillsy, this is a game the Senators do hold the edge in a number of key categories. They score more goals per game than Columbus. They allow less per game than Columbus. They've got a much better power play. They're much better in the face-off dot. Their 5-on-5 analytics are much better. But Columbus is coming in feeling good about themselves right now after back-to-back wins.
Yeah, you can't take this Columbus team lightly, even with the odds against them and the hard travel issues, and their routine's going to be messed up, Ross. Like, hockey players, all athletes are creatures of habit. So a lot of these guys, they take naps before the game. That's going to be all messed up. They've got strict pregame meals that they take. I don't know if they got any superstition guys, but they're not going to be able to run through their normal game day stuff. So that's going to throw them off a bit. And then obviously being without your top player in Zach Werenski, it's not going to be easy. And Jet Greaves is the goalie that played last night for them. So you're going to get Elvis Merzlikins here. We all remember what happened last time the Sens went up against Elvis Merzlikins. He didn't last very long, and Jet Greaves had to come in, like a couple minutes into the second period. So you hope the Sens can find that spark again here.
Yes, and it's going to be all on Ottawa to bring themselves to a victory tonight and in front of the home crowd. And I know I've referenced that twice now, but there's reason for it. The Ottawa Senators home record is not where it needs to be. The Sens at home right now are 8-6-3. That means out of 17 games at the CTC so far this season, the fans have left with an L more often than not. Take the loser points and run with them, I guess, but the Sens need to stack wins at the CTC. And they've made a lineup change to do that. Tyler Kleven will be back after suffering an injury a couple weeks ago. That's going to be good news, but it's a surprise of who is coming out of the lineup. We'll look at both teams' rosters and our Locked On players' keys to victory next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Gametime. There's nothing like being near the ice during the hockey season. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere, it's unmatched. Watching at home is great, sure, but being in the building is a completely different experience. The only thing that used to get in the way was getting tickets, long queues, endless screens, and prices changing at checkout. That's why the Gametime app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The app is incredibly easy to use. Even I can use it. Browsing, comparing, and buying tickets took only minutes to find for me. One of my favorite features is seeing the view from your seat before buying. So if you're seeing the team on the road, you know you're going to get a good spot. Zone deals are clutch. You choose the section, Gametime picks the seats, and you save more. I love that the fees are included up front, so the price you see is the price you pay. And you got the game time guarantee, so you have peace of mind. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the GLEBE Central Pub. If you're looking for a place that lives and breathes hockey, the GLEBE Central Pub is the spot for you. It's right in the heart of the Glebe at 779 Bank Street, just steps from Lansdowne, and it's the perfect place to catch every game every night with great food and drink and even better company. But the GCP is about more than just catching the big game. There's something happening almost every day of the week to appeal to every taste. You can start your week with wing night every Monday, all day and all night. Trivia night goes on Tuesdays. How about open mic night on Wednesdays? And oh yeah, live music every Saturday night with no cover ever. They've also got the Sens Shuttle 4-game homestand coming up. So get your round trip tickets for just $18 at GLEBECentralPub.com. The GCP, where the vibes are free. You can get those tickets, GLEBECentralPub.com, and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. You already live your team every day, so let's take it up a level now and go ad-free. You can join the Locked On Sens Every Dayer Club to get access to Locked On Sens with no ads and a members-only Discord, all for just $5 USD a month or $50 US a year. You can go to lockedonsenators.supercast.com to learn more. All right, Pillsy, it is a 7 o'clock puck drop at the Canadian Tire Center tonight. At least that's what we believe it will be. The Columbus Blue Jackets not in town yet due to mechanical issues with their plane, but it looks like all systems go for tonight's game. Senators heavy favorites over at FanDuel tonight, minus 218 on the money line. The Blue Jackets are at plus 180. The Senators did not hold a morning skate today, but Travis Green did speak to the media. He confirmed, of course, that Levi Merilainen will start in goal, that Curtis McDermott will draw into the lineup after not playing against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the big news, Tyler Kleven will return to the lineup in place of Nick Jensen. We're also waiting to see on Shane Pinto's status. He's been out of the lineup since December 4th. Quite a while they've played without one of their most important forwards, but we'll wait and see closer to puck drop if Shane Pinto is back. Pillsy, we'll get to Nick Jensen after, actually. Let's go to the lines for tonight's game. And there's one interesting note here, and we're pulling up the lines mostly from Toronto against Toronto on Saturday. But Pillsy, it looks like a change that was made during that game could continue into tonight, and that was moving Brady Tkachuk onto a line with Dylan Cousins and Drake Batherson. Your thoughts if that is ultimately the trio?
I'd be surprised if that stays, Ross. I think we're likely going to see Tkachuk back on that top line with Timmy and Zetterlund. Maybe that was just a part of the way that game was going. Travis Green wanted to switch things up because he didn't like how that top six was organized. But I really think the more you can get Brady Tkachuk on the ice, the better. So I'd like to see him remain on that top line.
But they had so many looks in that third period. And sure, score effects, they were trying to mount a comeback.
Yeah.
But that first goal at the start of the third period was Brady chipping the puck up and then Cousins finding Batherson, and it's in the back of the net. So it's a line that has worked in small sample sizes so far. We'll see what the ultimate decision is. We don't even know if Ridley Gregg's playing third line center or if Shane Pinto is going to be back. So there is still some flux, lots of flux into tonight's game. That's the story of tonight's game. Nobody knows what's going to happen. We do hope, though, that the puck does drop. We also know that Nick Jensen will be a healthy scratch, which means we expect the D-core to line up with Kleven, Matt, and Palo as the bottom pair, still keeping Jordan Spence with Thomas Chabot. Those two have been excellent together in a small sample size this season. Pillsy, who's your locked-on player to watch tonight?
My locked-on player is going to be Jordan Spence, coming off a game where he had a goal and assist up against the Leafs. I loved his goal, the second effort to get that puck and bury it. No Jensen, that really opens the door even further for Jordan Spence to have an opportunity to play on that second pair with Thomas Chabot. I don't think Matthew Palo was really a threat to take that spot there. And Nick Jensen, sure, he was seeing more time on that third pair, but you never know with a coach like Travis Green if he's like, hey, Shabbat, Jensen, they worked really well last season. Let's get those two back together. So this is a big opportunity for Jordan Spence, and I want to see him take advantage of it here.
Yeah, same with me. This is a big opportunity for Jordan Spence. My locked on player, no surprise. I'm going with Timmy Superstar. Tim Stützle currently riding a 9-game point streak as well as a 4-game goal streak. He's got 16 points in his last 9 games, 8 goals, 8 assists. Timmy is flying right now. And with all due respect to Adam Fantilli, who I think is going to be a phenomenal player in this league, there's nobody on Columbus that is as good offensively as a forward. And shout out Zach Werenski. I know he's not playing tonight, but he's a stud. He would obviously, he'd probably be the best player in the game. He's that good. We talk about how Brady shoots the puck. Zach Werenski was 3rd in the league last year in shots as a defenseman, was a Norris finalist. So there could be some arguments there. I would get that. But going into who's playing tonight, Tim Stützle should and could be the best player on the ice. So I'm looking for that point streak to extend to 10 games. And in his career against Columbus, Timmy's got 7 goals in 13 games. Only 1 assist, but 7 goals in 13 games. We'll see if he can extend that point streak. Let's look at the Columbus Blue Jackets for tonight's game. The aforementioned Adam Fantilli centering the top line between Mason Marchment and Kirill Marchenko. The second line, Sean Monahan between Dmitry Voronkov and Kent Johnson. The third line, Charlie Coyle between Boone Jenner and Mathieu Olivier. And the fourth line, Brendan Gauntz between Miles Wood and Cole Sillinger. On the back end, it'll be Ivan Provorov with Dante Fabro, Denton Mateychuk with Damon Severson, and Jake Christensen with Brendan Smith. We assume that Elvis Merzlikin starts in goal after Jet Greaves played last night. They will be without Zach Werenski. We expect them to be without Isaac Lundestrom, who missed last game with an injury, as well as hashtag Sens Abroad and Ottawa native Eric Gabranson also dealing with injury. Billsy, who's your lookout player to watch for on Columbus?
My lookout player to watch is going to be the newly acquired number 17 Mason Marchment. It was interesting that Columbus was the team that landed him after things weren't working well in Seattle, and he's made an impact right away. He scores in his first game. Then his second game, he gets 2 goals, including 2 on the power play. And then last night, he gets an assist. So he's got 4 points in 3 games with the Columbus Blue Jackets. But also, what I'm going to be watching for, Ross, is how he is on his feet. Because if you watch that play up against the Islanders, he catches Matthew Schaefer, a little bit of a knee-on-knee play, a greasy tripping play, which he's been known to do in the past. And Islanders fans have pointed out, Marchment went after Schaefer earlier in the season as well. So that seems like a targeted thing. And obviously the Islanders weren't happy about it. Matthew Barzal comes up to him and just 2-hand chops him right in the skate laces. And Marchment goes down there. Probably kind of deserved a greasy play by Barzal, but that's the repercussion of a greasy play by Marchment. So we'll see if maybe he's not as nimble on his feet. Now, Marchment, obviously a big guy, not necessarily known for his speed, but we'll see if that impacts him tonight. But a top-line player that's already been hot for the Columbus Blue Jackets, so I'm going to be looking out for him.
I'm looking at and one man's injury is another man's opportunity. And by the way, Zach Werenski was on a 5-game point streak where he had 5 goals and 5 assists in his last 5 games.
Wow.
10 points as a defenseman. But hey, he's out. Who's going to step up? The answer is Denton Mateychuk, a guy we were super high on in his draft year. He ends up going 12th overall to Columbus in 2022, and he's got a 2-assist game in his last outing against the Islanders, also a point in each of his 2 previous games. So he's riding a 3-game point streak where he's got 4 points. He's averaging way more time on ice. He's up at 26-30 last game, 28-35 in the 2 games where they've been missing Werenski. So I'm looking at Denton Mateychuk as a guy where if you're Ottawa, you have to target him physically. Not the way that Mason Marchment goes about handling his business, but he's a 5'11", 190-pound defenseman. He's 21 years old. So Ottawa has to make life uncomfortable for him, breaking the puck out of the zone, because if you give him time and space, he's got an elite outlet pass, and he can dance in the offensive zone. So I'm really going to key in on number 5 for Columbus, Denton Mateychuk. They had for a while Provorov playing his off wing or offside with Werenski. So now it's more lined up proper in terms of left shot, right shot in their top 4. Severson is one of those low event players that's playing alongside Mateychuk. So they're going to let him try to move the puck up and try to be obviously a lesser version of, but kind of do what Werenski did night in and night out. So that's my lookout player to watch tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that decor shakes out for Columbus without their top guy there. So yeah, Matejchuk, this could be a big one for him.
And Elvis Merzlikins, if he does start in goal, he's 6-6-1 on the season with an .877 save percentage and a .404 Pilsy goals against average.
Wow, you don't often see the goals against in the fours for goalies that have consistent amount of games played. So let's hope they can repeat what they did to Elvis last time, because that was awesome.
Also, the Sens have been, I would say, making a concerted effort the last number of games of really getting in the grill of the opposition goalie. Just asked Joseph Woll on Saturday night, took some bumps from Brady and his own defenseman, we'll say, but Ridley was right there with them on the goal. And Elvis is a bit of a hothead. Last season, he had 4 minor penalties. He's done that in multiple seasons. He's a guy where if you're Nick Cousins, you go by him, it's like, hey, you think you're going to play the whole game tonight? Hey, just remind him what happened the last time he went up against the Ottawa Senators. And I feel like, let's see if the stats match the eye test on this one. In Elvis's career against Ottawa, no, they don't. He's actually got a .922 career save percentage, which had to be way higher before the last meeting. But he's 3-2-2 in 11 appearances against Ottawa. But I think this is a ripe for the picking game where you can really take it to Elvis Merzlikins once again. One player that won't be in the lineup, though, Nick Jensen. We got to have a conversation about this after the break. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day. All right, Pilsy. Want to remind everybody that the postcast will be live after tonight's game, the final buzzer. So it should be live around 10:15. If you subscribe on YouTube, make sure you hit that notification bell and you will get notified right when we go live. You can also head into the chat during the game and let everybody know how you're feeling as the Senators take on the Blue Jackets in Ottawa tonight. Pilsy, Nick Jensen has been a warrior. That's one thing that nobody can take away from Nick Jensen. The guy battled through injury throughout the second half of the season, had hip surgery, and crushed the timeline to be able to return to play for the Ottawa Senators. Nick Jensen has appeared in all 37 games this season and 71 out of 82 last season with the Ottawa Senators. Last season, plus 18. This season, second worst on the team in plus minus at -10. The flawed stat where if you're either first or last, it is notable. Nick Jensen, just not a good performance against Toronto Maple Leafs. A lot of people pointing out that ultimate game-winning goal, the 6th goal, facing the wrong way in front of the net. And Pilsy, I said on the postcast with Marshy on Saturday, the Ottawa Senators were in a spot where you were going to learn a lot about whether the balance between respecting veterans and winning games was going to take place. This was obviously before we learned about Linus Ullmark's leave of absence, but he hadn't played well, and Nick Jensen hadn't played well. Those are tough conversations to have internally, but it looks like Travis Green made the decision to bench Nick Jensen. Your thoughts? Were you as surprised as I was when you saw that news?
I was very surprised, yeah, because there could have been countless other times this season where Travis Green could have made this move, and I think especially, Ross, with Tyler Kleven coming back from an injury, you'd think maybe you'd give him a game or two to see how he's feeling, let him ease into it before taking someone like Nick Jensen out. But I do think it's the right move. Maybe the timing is a little weird. You mentioned, though, not the best game from Jensen, so maybe that's more the reason why it's happening now rather than it happening earlier on. But hey, this is a business. You got to win games. And if you're not the top 6 choice for a defenseman, you got to sit out. And I think that would have been tough for Travis Green to have that conversation, but that's what you need to do. And I really think that this is going to be a good thing for Nick Jensen. I think he deserves a quick break here. Like you mentioned, the hip surgery, we thought he was going to be out, but he's played every single game. And I think this will give him an opportunity to kind of, look in the mirror, say, all right, clearly I haven't been good enough. How can I improve? What do I need to work on? See the game from a different angle and come back better. Because a lot of these times, veterans like Jensen, they've got a lot of pride. They want to say, hey, all right, I've been healthy scratched. I need to be better so that this doesn't happen again. I feel like I should be in the lineup every game. So I'm really convinced, Ross, that this is going to be a good thing for him, and we're going to see a better version of Nick Jensen when he does come back.
I was almost surprised that it wasn't last game. And of course, it would have had to be Dennis Gilbert who got reassigned to Belleville. Tyler Clevin was unavailable, but like Nick Jensen had travel trouble and didn't make it to Toronto until after the morning skate. Like to throw him into that situation, it just felt like, I don't know. But yeah, it didn't go his way, and he'll be on the outside looking in. A decision that obviously wasn't easy, but agreed, it is the right decision. We'll see if it's a one-game thing or if it's going to continue. But Travis Green believes Nicholas Matten-Powell on that right side gives them a better chance to win tonight than Nick Jensen.
Yeah, and Clevin and Matten-Powell are a really nice third pair. Like they're going to shut things down. I think that'll help Tyler Clevin come back in a little bit more smoothly with a guy that he's played a lot with. Now he has played a decent chunk with Jensen, but obviously Matten-Powell is his more familiar partner. So I think from that standpoint, it is interesting. And Ross, you mentioned Jensen dealing with that travel trouble and maybe that affected his game. Well, let's hope that affects every single Columbus Blue Jackets player's game as they're dealing with some wild travel stuff here. And they're not going to get to Ottawa till maybe 3:30, 4 p.m. So that's really going to screw them up here. So if you're the Senators, you have to take advantage. I know, Ross, you called it a must win. I'm looking at this as a can't lose. Now, is there a big difference between those terms? Not necessarily, but this is one where you've just been handed all these opportunities. So in my mind, you can't lose this game up against the worst team in the Eastern Conference that's had travel troubles, second half of a back-to-back. You're going up against a weaker goalie, and this is a team that you've already been able to beat, and they're last place in their conference, let alone division. So you can't lose this one, Ross.
And I'm not looking at goals for per 60 minutes when it comes to D pairs that are meant to be your third pair. It's all about how you do defensively. And in 110 minutes together, Clevin, Matten-Powell, they haven't been on the ice for a goal for. They've been on the ice for 4 goals against, but that's a average of 2.19 goals against per 60 minutes, which is the third best of any Sens D pair that's played 50 minutes together. The two that are better, Sanderson Zub and Sanderson Spence. So just get Jake Sanderson on the ice as much as you can, and you will shut things down defensively. Do you know what the goals against average is when Clevin Jensen are on the ice in 52 minutes?
I'm going to guess not good.
5.76, dead last on the team. They've been on the ice for 5 goals against and 1 goal for in 52 minutes of time. So the analytics show that defensively it's better to have Clevin and Matten-Powell out there. We'll see if the eye test and the statistics match after tonight's game. But a good reset here for Nick Jensen, and I'm glad that Travis Green made this difficult decision. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Yes, final thoughts for me is just a heads up for everyone watching, listening. Both Ross and I are playing road games right now. Two different road atmospheres. Ross down in beautiful sunny Florida. I'm up in the mountains in BC. Just had a -20 day on the hill, so very different than your day on the beach, Ross. But just want to let people...
25 here right now.
Yeah, decent. If there is some quick internet glitches, if my mic sounds a little bit different, it's because we're on the road, we're battling through. But hey, doesn't mean we're not going to bring you the content that you expect from us. So we're grinding, we're battling on the road. And if it seems a little different than it is usually, we apologize, but we're doing everything we can. I promise you that.
Well said. And we will have a New Year's Eve episode dropping early on the 31st for you, where we're looking at the New Year's resolutions for the Ottawa Senators. That one's going to be a pre-recorded one. Obviously, both of us will be traveling that day. So, of course, we'll still get you locked on Senators. Thanks so much for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.